An update I've sent. Thank you, Nancy. I saw a few names registered that were people that I'm not familiar with. So I am Lisa Harrison. I'm the administrator coach for career and technical education and CCMR with the service center. And we're happy that everybody joined us this morning. I have a quick update that I want to kind of share with you. I've sent this out for those that are in my listserv, and it's come out in a couple places from TEA, but it came out at the very bottom of a list, and it didn't get very well highlighted, but this is a huge change. And I know this is not officially CTE, but in a majority of our districts, the person who manages CTE generally is also managing the military side of things, especially if you have classes that are aligned to that with your programs. And so I wanted to make sure that everybody knows, because it's going to be change what CCMR numbers look like. TEA had come out in October with some updated guidance on how to go about determining who your military enrollees were before you put that in PEIMS. But then they did a follow-up and released this and said it's not going to count anymore. Now, it does tell you that you are still supposed to go ahead and report it. And I would like to recommend that everybody kind of be diligent about reporting this in case they were to change their mind on this in the future. You would want to have all of that information in there. But this will be posted on my website, and it has the links to their updated enlistment data FAQ that they put out, some of the new CCMR accountability requirements, and a link to the performance reporting webpage that will have more detailed information. But as of your graduating class of 2019 and going forward, military will not be counted for A through F accountability, nor will it count for your CCMR outcome bonuses. And so when you're looking at that data, you're going to need, if you have students that was the point you already had for them planned for, that you knew that was the direction they were heading. Maybe they had already done really well in the ASVAB. Maybe they, you already know they're looking at going to, say, the Air Force Academy or something like that. And so, you had a lot of strong data to back up the fact that that's where they were headed. You now are going to need for that student to have another version of getting that point, whether that is an IBC, whether that is TSI or ACT or SAT. So you want to make sure that if you're needing to count on that you can change it. This is an updated slide that they have shared and posted on your accountability and on the outcome bonuses. And you'll see the change at the bottom. Enlist in the U.S. Army Armed Forces is no longer applicable. It's been temporarily suspended. Now, the temporarily is what makes me say, it is worthwhile to continue to be tracking this information and to be entering it in PEIMS in case that temporarily suspended were to change, because you would want to make sure you had been keeping up with the information. And hopefully this will change. Now, the plan is, the reasoning for the temporarily suspended is they had announced that they were very close last spring with in meetings with the military to receiving verification of this data. But then COVID happened and those talks had ended and they had not moved any further. And so there is still hope that information is going to come, kind of like our information that comes from post-secondary, will go directly from the entity to TEA, and that could, if that were to happen, then they definitely would be able to turn that back on. So I say, I know that's not truly a CTE thing, but a lot of you it affects, and we wanted to make sure that you're tracking that. It also could make a difference, even if you are the CTE person, if you have other programs that are looking at now wanting to maybe partner with you to earn IBCs for the students so that you do have a means of earning that point. It's a great time for having those conversations. Next up, we have a visitor with us today, and I saw that he joined in, so I'm glad to see that he's here. Forecast 5 and Forecast Analytics is going to talk to you about 5 Lab. We did have Celine Broswell from Northwest share about this recently, and we wanted to bring in Adam to talk to you directly from the company and give you more details and be able to answer questions. I do have an image on here that's for Stephenville, and that's actually a link. You could click in it to go to the article, but that's posted on the homepage of their website. And that's one of our local school districts that was being highlighted for how they've used this and having it improve their data. So I wanted to go ahead and give you a link to that little article that is on their site. And I want to, Nancy, can you make sure Adam has co-host rights? And I'm going to stop sharing so that I can, actually, maybe I need to give him co-host rights. There you go. And without further ado, I would like to go ahead and welcome Adam and let him introduce himself and share with you information about his company.
There we go. Can everybody see my screen with student engagement, first of all?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, it's a pleasure to meet everybody virtually here today. My name is Adam Sobolka, and I am the Senior Manager for 5 Lab, and really appreciate the opportunity to connect with each of you today. You know, I know these times are stressful, unprecedented, and always changing. So I think in connecting with Lisa, wanted to just provide some ways that clients are using analytics in this moment to help them answer some key questions. And then of course, I'll have some time for you to ask me some questions. But I wanted to just share that prior to coming to Forecast 5, and Forecast 5 has a lot of different tools that you can use, from financial forecasting tools to benchmarking historical information, to connecting to your student information systems, your vendor files, and your now even e-learning information, and putting it under one roof. And that's really what we're going to focus on today, which is our tool 5 Lab that I think was kind of provided as an example for everybody at a prior meeting. And one of the key analytics that teams are really interested in looking at is really answering the question for their districts around e-learning engagement, and seeing, you know, for the students that are in a remote environment, or if a district has to go remote, being able to answer to school boards, you know, who's logging in and engaging in our e-learning and who's not, and how do we find the students that aren't. And this is an example, and we have an example in Google Classroom, we have examples in Canvas and Schoology, but all around the same theme of who's engaging in our e-learning. And what we try to do is provide a insight into that by connecting the information in your student information system and blending it to e-learning platforms, so you can get a disaggregated view to ensure that all students have access. And this is our Google Classroom example. And we run this based on which students are engaged in the last 7 days in blue at each site, and in red, which students are not. And you can see it disaggregated, and you would see it disaggregated by school building, by grade level, by race, ethnicity, income, English learners, ECODIS, and special education. And we try to provide a platform for people where, you know, even though this school, you know, has a high number of students that are engaged in the last 7 days, and I should give an example. The question always comes up, well, what's engagement? Engagement in Google Classroom is the student actually had to do something. So, and it's the same in Canvas. We don't just take logins. And if you were to use Schoology or Canvas or Google Classroom, a lot of times they just say who's logged in. Well, the issue we found with that was that students might stay logged into that system, never log out, and then boom, they're viewed as active. We actually, they have to have done something. So in Google Classroom, they have to have turned in an assignment, reclaimed an assignment from a teacher, or had that assignment returned back to them. And the dashboard's real easy. So like from a district level, you can see this engagement. We also have an auto insight that allows you to see some disaggregated views to see if there's any major significant equity gaps. But you could just click on the name of the school, and what it'll do is it'll drill down in our guided analysis page to just show the view of the school. And again, that school has some high engagement numbers, but 10% of the ELs aren't engaged, and we might want to see who those students are. And this is a demo set, so I'm going to click into some student names, but here's your list of students that are not engaged. And we see the clients going out and reaching out to those students. What's the barrier? ELs have a different potential language barrier that might be in existence, and we want to support them in a different way. And so having this list has been really important. And then we also include a bookmark where you can get, if this is a list of intervention that you need to see, you can have it emailed to you on a regular basis. So that's answering the first question of who's engaging in our e-learning. And we know boards are interested in this. We know district admins interested in this from their building principals. How do we help? How do we reduce the barriers? And the next visual that actually has come out that's been quite interesting is around what staff do we need to support? And again, we're actually able to see how many assignments are being created by staff members, specifically in Google Classroom, as this example, to where you could see who your potential league leaders are in the Google Classroom space and who might need some additional time and support. So again, if we go to a particular school building, and I have to be honest, I didn't think that this would be as interesting as clients have explained it to be, but they had seen just tracking if an assignment has a due date or not, and that ability to see what kind of assignments the staff member is creating has been a real insight. A principal would have to go around to each staff member and ask them. Here they can actually see, are we having assessments for or of learning? Are they formative? Are they summative? Grades matter now this year. We want to make sure students stay on track, and it starts with staff. Are they comfortable in whatever our e-learning system is? And so that's kind of that second key question around e-learning. And the third actually comes from Northwest as an example of being able to answer, how are our kids doing? Again, board members are wanting to know, are our students failing a lot? Are they failing more or less? Are our remote learners failing more or less than our in-person learners? And Northwest, and Celine may have given this example previously, but we actually create this in-progress grade distribution for them where it's disaggregated by grade, school, race, EcoDis, English learners, department, and so on around their grading scale. And they actually send us a list of students that have selected that they are remote only learners. So you can go to in-person, remote, or if they haven't made a selection, there's a few of those, but the question that they were asking was, does my grade distribution shift a bunch at each of my campuses for my remote learners? And they just click that button, the whole guided analysis will update for them to where they can see what changes occur. And if there's a campus you want to look at, you just simply click on the button or click on the bar chart. And now I've dove into the remote learners at Northwest High, and you can see the various grade distribution. The real point of interest for the building administration is, are we seeing pockets of not meeting expectation at this moment in time for our remote learners? Who do we need to help? We want to keep students on track for graduation. We want to know, are there courses that are exhibiting a high number of students at this time not meeting, and even staff members. Again, I'm in a demo mode, so whenever I show staff name or student names, it's actually an obfuscated name, so we're protecting the innocent here. But you could just dive into the math department and you can, I'm gonna speed up and scroll down to seeing, for the courses and the staff, are there any team members that are really struggling with their remote learners that we need to connect with? And you can see by course, you can see by staff member, and you can, again, it's as easy as click and play. You can see the percent of students for that staff that are not meeting. And, again, if this is a place you want to go frequently, you can select our bookmark and get it emailed to you, or you can just see the list of students and provide targeted outreach. Who do we need to connect with that's not meeting at this moment in time? And how do I get to them quickly? While it took me a little longer because I was explaining along the way, that's really about a 4-click process to find that list of students to intervene with.
Adam, you're referencing e-learning as it regards Google Classroom. Can you quick mention, a lot of our districts are Canvas or using other LMS systems. So is it also tie into those?
Yes, we have the same type of analysis around engagement in Schoology and Canvas as well. We try to provide a specific, regardless of the e-learning system, we don't particularly, that doesn't particularly matter to us. We're agnostic to that. The example that I just gave you actually is around tying the grade distribution of Northwest. So those are, teachers are putting grades in their grade book, and we're actually just tying who's your remote learner to those grades, so you can always progress how your remote learners are doing in comparison to your in-person learners.
Thank you.
Are there any questions? I'm going to pause there because these 3 examples seem to generate a lot of questions to see how we can slice and dice the information for people. Any specific questions? Hi, Jordan.
Yeah, Adam, how real time is this? Is this like a daily upload? Is it like live? But how up to date is it?
We have districts sending us many data points nightly. So typically the items that come nightly to us are course grades one of 2 ways. Some districts like it every quarter or trimester or whatever the marking period is, or they can come nightly. Northwest sends it to us nightly. We also have attendance coming in nightly, discipline coming in nightly, and those 3 typically are your nightly data sends. Then we get into the periodic data sends like NWEA map, iReady, state assessments, AP scores. Those come in on a sequence, on a schedule. So when you send those to us, we load them into your model. And we have a variety of dashboards here. And this is just a drop down to show you an example within Northwest, but these come on whatever schedule that you decide to schedule with us. But grades, attendance, discipline are nightly.
Adam, in the chat, we've been asked, somebody has asked specifically about Texas. So our student information systems, are all of those, you're able to bridge to them?
Yeah, I think the beauty of 5Lab is that it doesn't matter your student information system. We connect via a file send. So your team sends us the files to upload in the format that's appropriate, and then we load it into the system. So it doesn't really matter what the student information system is.
Great, thank you. Anybody else have questions they want to put in the chat or want to unmute and ask?
Just some examples around how this information is tied together. So we provide an insight into what we call an equity audit. We know that equity and access is key, and we want to make sure that in an example, the grades of students mirror the enrollment. And so this is an example of one of our equity audits where on the left-hand side, you have the enrollment of the district. And in the middle, you actually have the percent of D's and F's. You want to see proportionality. So obviously, we have a greater percentage of Hispanic or Latino students receiving a D or an F greater than what the population percentage is. There could be a potential area of disproportionality. Now, discipline is typically one that people are looking at. Is there a certain student group that is over suspended? Excuse me. Is there, in terms of AP enrollment, are we seeing students engaged in AP coursework, dual credit coursework, and their exam performance as well? So instead of a team member having to go to 3 other individuals in the district, we try to give you one dashboard that you can log in and you can see all this information without having to ask and engage a lot of different people within the district. We pull it straight from your student information system. We combine it with items like those vendor files with the College Board, SAT, AP, and we include it on one dashboard so you can get an insight into the equity element.
We have a question in the chat about looking at CCMR data and how you're supporting Northwest. Now I know that because I've dealt with Lynn on this, that you do track CCMR for them. So there you go, if you want to show.
Yeah, this is a great example. And Lisa, based on your current slide that you just presented, I know we're going to be revising this, but what we do is we create a view of, who's CCMR ready, who's not CCMR ready, and why. And we actually bucket the why. And this whole military column, because of the data, that's why you don't see many military students qualifying. So that makes a lot of sense after the initial slides. But you can see for Northwest, we roll in these indicators to say who's not and who is CCMR ready, but we actually can bucket it by, which are qualifying via the college ready route, which are qualifying via the career ready route. And you can, dive into by grade level, who's not CCMR ready. And we'll have a student list available and the reason why that they are not CCMR ready. Again, these are fictitious lists. So, you're not going to get the full view, but you can see all the indicators are built in there. So when it's your students, you can see which indicator did they meet and which indicator did they not meet, or multiple. So again, this is a list of students that are not CCMR ready. Again, one click, we get to the list of students that are not ready. And you're able to see, as you get more years, and Northwest, this is their first year with us, but as they get more years of data, they'll be able to track that longitudinally. Christine, did that answer your question? And
Adam, you talk about sending in lists over and over again. So as the years build up, you store all this? Like, what does storage look like for this?
yeah, we have longitudinal views. So we stack year over year, so you can track trends over time. Let me just give an example of this. Actually, I'm going to, if I could, I'm going to jump. This is an example of, this is actually Eagle Mountain Saginaw. And one of the elements of their dashboard that literally is hot off the presses is their tracking of 6-week grades. Now, this is an example of CLI Engage. So you can see how you could go from wave 1 to wave 2 administration. The reason I wanted to share this is a lot of people are tracking grade level ready right now, and pre-K learners is actually something that people are interested in. How are pre-K learners doing now, given some are remote, some are not, and we want to make sure that they're going to be ready for kindergarten. CLI is a way for us to do that. But I'm actually going to, and forgive me for jumping around here, but we actually just recently, as of last week, created this 6-week progress report grade view for them. And Jordan, I think this will, this might answer your question here, where we'll be able to see year over year how grades change from progress report 1 to progress report 2. So a lot of data here. So that might be, or that'll take a second for us. But as this loads, any other questions come in?
I know that, I don't know if you were planning to get to it, but I know that there's questions because they've come to me through other methods asking about pricing. And is this price per student, per campus? How is that?
Yeah, pricing is based on student population. So we would give you a specific quote based on your students. Typically, depending on the size, it's between $3 and $5 per student. So that, again, does vary based on the size of the district.
Since you are a CTE group while he's waiting for this to populate, one of the things that I would suggest is you can be tracking your IBCs and it can do a great amount of work for you, but it also is tracking a lot of other things. So that price point may be something either you could get the district to cover out of other funds that would work for, and it would still work for you, or you could blend fund it because it's not necessarily just CTE. It can help you in a plethora of ways within CTE, but you could utilize this. This would be a great use of CCMR outcome bonus funds that were already front loaded in your summary finances back in September, I believe, I think on September 25th. And so there are a number of ways you could look at funding this. It doesn't necessarily need to come straight from CTE.
Jordan, you could kind of see, we just stack it year to year to year. they were concerned, you know, what is our first 6 week ABCF? How does it look by students? They can compare 19 to 20 to 21 and so on. So that's just an example. They're primarily focused on grades at the high school level. But then it also flips over to remote learners. They bring in remote learners as well to see, you know, are there any specific issues that are occurring within a department that might exist, and they can go from, I have it filtered to S1 or SW1, but you can put SW2 in there as well.
Adam, in the chat, we have a question asking, can you do this with just one campus, say your high school campus, so you could track CCMR and CTE and not have it go down through maybe your elementary and your middle school campuses?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we would want to spec out with you if it's just going to be a high school specific build. You know, the great thing about working with us is we do have a national landscape. So we do have districts that are high school only. We do have K to 12 districts. We do have K to 8 districts. So you're able to connect with districts not only within Texas, but you're able to connect with districts across the country to take the best ideas from around the country and apply it to your model. So I think we have some good use case to share there.
Great, thank you. And just kind of as a caution group, if you were using solely CTE funds, you could not use it below middle school because CTE funds can only be used middle and high school. So if you were going to use it at the elementary, it would have to either be funded from another source or blend funded. We're asking, can you gather information from multiple LMS simultaneously?
For LMS, are we looking at something like a Canvas in a Google Classroom? Is that the?
Yes.
Yeah.
We actually have three. We use Seesaw, Canvas, and Google Classroom.
So we do have districts that are using all three. I will tell you those Seesaw is it's the white whale that we keep trying to capture. Nobody feels really good about their Seesaw data. And the reason is because those learners, I imagine, Dr. Ayers, that those are your K to 2 learners in most cases. Yeah. So because engagement looks so different to them, typically people like the idea of Seesaw, but it never comes into practice because there's just so many variables of parents, and it's just tough to wrap their hands around. But we do have districts that have multiple LMSs, so a Google Classroom and a Canvas. I will say we track student engagement. We keep 2 separate dashboards on there. The reason we keep 2 separate dashboards, one for Google Classroom and one for Canvas, is because both of those systems actually have different data points that show a student is actually doing something in the system. Without getting too technical, it's not the same. And so to not confuse the end user, we like to, so we know what the definition is for Google Classroom. We keep that on the dashboard and we keep Canvas on a separate. So, you know, that seems to work well for everybody because, and then we can filter the grade levels and the buildings accordingly. So if it's only 9 through 12 are on Canvas and, you know, 5 through 8 are on Google Classroom, well, we can filter the dashboards to only show your 5th through 8th graders on Google Classroom and your 9 through 12s on Canvas. So you don't have a lot of 100% not engaged students at the lower levels because they're not on the system. Great question. One of the other elements, and I think this might tie in kind of to Amy's question of readiness. You know, we certainly do CCMR ready as I had shown. But one of the unique things that I do want to share with you is an example of our next grade readiness that we've seen kind of take hold at the elementary school, where we combine based on the district criteria. And this district set a criteria for grade level ready around not being chronically absent, having less than 2 suspensions or discipline events, no suspensions, an F&P, Fontes and Pinnell score, and a MAP, NWEA MAP reading or math at grade level. So certainly, you know, the state lays out the CCMR ready element for us, but I think the value of having your K-8s in the system as well is this element of grade level ready, where instead of somebody having to do a whole bunch of VLOOKUPs and matches on a spreadsheet around all these indicators, this district just says, here's our criteria. Tell us who's ready and not ready at our elementary levels. And they just literally go in and they click not ready. The dashboard updates to not ready. And I'm just going to scroll. It's disaggregated so you can see why they're not ready. But the student list is really, again, the valuable point is where are they not ready? Are they, you know, like this student, they're chronically absent, not at grade level F&P. They were grade level at math. So you can really focus your energy and effort on that specific criteria to answer the why. Why is a student not next grade ready? CLI is certainly a way to do it at pre-K, but if there's a more robust criteria at your other elementary levels to say, what are the grade level readiness criteria that we have for our students to make sure that, you know, certainly by the end of grade 12, we want them to be CCMR ready, but what K through 8 are the benchmarks along the way at the end of the year that we want to track as well.
And based on something you said as you were explaining that, I just want to clarify. So it sounds to me like you're building these dashboards customized per district based on what the district's asking.
Certainly, the criteria is personalized to your district. Now, the great thing again about having the national network is I could say, hey, here's an example of what they're doing for Freshmen on Track in Northwest ISD, which we're going to be building in, but that's based off a national indicator. So I have templates for you to work from, and you could say, actually, I like that. Let's take that right off the shelf, just like I have on the screen. Or you can personalize that criteria. So, but, you know, just this district has a variety of different assessments, grades. I should actually go over to their dashboarding. They have a variety of nuances specific to them. And I think that's a beautiful thing is not only do you get that national network of examples to work from, you can also tailor to your district. Dr. Ayers had a question about what about importing data from another data tracker like EduThings. We are agnostic to any data source. So all we typically look for is, well, what's the CSV file that you can send to us? What's the frequency by which you could send it to us? And what do you exactly want to visualize from that data set? Obviously, there's a lot of columns and a lot of rows in all these CSV files, but you might say, you know, here's the whole file, but we just want to pull item X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, I was looking to see how this could also incorporate tracking student engagement in the CTSOs as part of the dashboard.
That's, if you're not sure what CTSOs, it's our career and technology student leadership organizations. So things like Skills USA and Business Professionals of America. So it's something a little specific to CTE.
Yeah, both of those items, are you looking to roll up what the participation is in each of those?
Yeah, and that EduThings allows us to upload the students enrolled in the particular not courses, but organizations, who the leaders are, and what kind of agendas and stuff they work on. So it it would be another data point for a student leading towards not necessarily CCMR accountability, but maybe preparation for post-secondary growth.
Yeah, as long as we have it tied to a student ID, we can track it. So if you want to see how many students are in BPA for 2019 compared to 2020 compared to 2021, you can track that over time. We have many districts tracking activities around that, industry credentials as well. What are the certifications that they've earned? And I see Celine had just jumped in here, but tracking dual credit enrollment, AP course enrollments, all of those items.
What about personal graduation plans or PGPs?
So personal graduation plans is also one of those unique ones. We do have the element of if a student has a specific course taking pattern that they need to go through to meet a specific outcome, we do have items where we're tracking credits and then what are they on track to meeting those growth plans. The really technical piece of that is the district just going into that project needs to have a pretty well laid out idea of what courses align to what pathway or what plan. So I'm just going to use a very general example, but let's say you have students that are pursuing a medical career pathway and that they need to take a certain set of science courses. What we need to do is just make sure that we have all of those courses aligned to that student's career pathway to say yes or no, they met it. The trickiest element, as I'm sure everybody on this call has dealt with, is that your course codes and your course names from 4 years ago don't mean the same thing that they mean today, or they're in a possible state of evolution. So that's okay. We try to work with you on that. But I would say, Lisa, that has typically been the biggest hurdle for when we get down to these credit pathways or our students on track based on credits. It's a little bit of a data cleansing exercise, for lack of a better term, to just say, oh man, we kept our course catalog like this, or this campus has been coding biology 5 different ways for the last 3 years. And we don't know necessarily where to start, but we'll walk you through that. You don't know unless you visualize it. And unless you know how many students are assigned to that course code, you don't even sometimes know where to start and with which building. So one of the added advantages we have seen is a little bit of a working with your registrars and your guidance offices to say, okay, yes, we know that biology was coded this way for medical careers back in 1920, but now and moving forward, here's what it is.
Thank you. And I'm thinking you could at the very least probably have some sort of a checkbox that counselors would be able to track that they have a 4-year plan on file that's signed, because that's required by law here in Texas. So that, we could have that even if you didn't go to the full level of having the built-in graduation plans for the students.
Yes, that's right. And I can actually show you an example of a credit tracker if you're interested in that. But while I bring that up, it's actually a California district that I think is kind of a unique view for everybody. Any other questions while I bring that up?
What's the startup time from when to when, and how long does it take to get going?
Yeah, so typically we see for your first set of dashboards. So those would be grades, attendance, discipline, and we're actually seeing, I would include in there your Google Classroom or Canvas or Schoology, usually about 30 days to get those initial ones rolling. Your more complex ones like uh, your CCMR elements, there's usually a lot of data points behind those, and we need a historical record behind. So that takes a lot longer to backfill. And forgive me, I think I have too many tabs up right here, so I won't give you the spinning wheel of death in your frame. But so we usually see about a month. Now, granted, there's a lot of validation, okay? We need to make sure that you feel your data is what you're saying that it is, and you feel good about your student counts, your percentages, your ECODIS numbers, all of those elements. So, but we're seeing for minimally grades, attendance, discipline, and I would lump e-learning in there. You know, a month is usually a good time frame.
For us, it was a great audit. We were able to see the trash that was actually going in and places that we had messed up in coding. It was really good for us.
For those that are not familiar, this is Celine Broswell. She is with Northwest IST, and she shared a little bit about this a few weeks back and put us in contact with Adam. And so if you have kind of district specific questions, I'm sure she'd be happy to answer them.
Any other questions?
I will just say that I don't have to put a plug in for 5 Labs. I appreciate them, but it has been a game changer for us in our district, being able to access the things, but also empowering our campuses and really helping them to start own the conversations. Understanding when we're talking about whether it's an MLA audit or we're going to talk about, you know, how we're planning and preparing for the future, we don't get to hide our data anymore. And so that to me is really, really powerful. Also understanding that when we are looking at equity and access, we now have that at our fingertips. We are able to have bigger conversations much quicker. Somebody's not asking for the data services department to run a Cognos report anymore. So it's very empowering.
So Lynn, can you share at what level of staff do they have access to these? Do you give limited level to certain people? Is it principals and up?
So
that is one of the problems you mentioned is having to go through other people to get your data in the
this
past.
is not meant for teachers. I will just tell you that right now, because, and I say that because of what we load, and Adam can attest, I load everything. I want it all in there. And so this is not meant for a teacher. This is meant for an administrator. This is meant for directors, executive directors, campus principals, assistant principals, lead counselors, that group of staff that is having large district conversations or large campus conversations. So like we have a district dashboard, and then my campus principal and AP, they have their own dashboard for their campuses. And so they can have those conversations in that way. But this is not meant for a teacher to be sitting here, because I mean, we link GPA, we link attendance, we link a lot of high risk student data in here. And so this is really made to administrate and to have good conversations, to ask bigger guiding questions that get teachers thinking, not necessarily for teachers. And so for our teachers, we have EduGents and On Data Suites and other places like that where we have our teachers going in to look at like CBA data. This is not where you're putting CBA data. This is not where you're asking yourself to just, you know, what's the standard exams. This is your big data equity access conversations.
And this is that example of and I would just echo what Selena just mentioned. Typically we see the lowest level within the organization is maybe like a guidance counselor or an MTSS team, because they are interested in, Lisa, to your point of who are the credit deficient kids and how many credits, if it's a pathway, you know, we can build that in, but how many credits are they short? This is just going to be an example of that, but we do see this more as administrative action tool. So it's, you do get a number of secondary users. There is not a limit on that. You are able to see from the district level what the performance is on the key indicators, from a building level as well. You can get down to the student level. So you do have guidance counselors at this school going in and say, okay, who are our students that are most credit deficient? Who do we need to get in a credit recovery program or something like that? Absolutely. But the element that Celine brought up of, it takes some time to train everybody. This in some cases is the most data that they've seen. And so you do have an advisor that does coach you through that. So that's built into the cost. We don't have a structure like some vendors of, you get 3 trainings free and then everyone after that is $1,000. That's not how we operate. Within the cost is the cost of the support from the advisor. We set up meetings. We come up with typically a PD program where we train a core set of staff first. Usually that's your district cabinet members. And then from there, we allow you to pick, do you want to be the trainer and train your teams, or would you like someone like myself to assist with that?
Awesome. And if you hadn't noticed it in the chat, not everybody always opens the chat box, but Celine has had to step away. She was in meetings today and she stepped out briefly to jump on this, but she has shared her email. So if you had a question you wanted to ask somebody who's using it in district, it's also being used in it's not being used just in our big districts. It's being used in Northwest and Eagle Mountain, Saginaw, which are larger districts, but Stephenville was listed on their websites as recommended, and so they were a little bit smaller district that was using it. So and I was not aware that Stephenville was one of the places that was using it. Actually, I guess I should verify that, Adam, that is our Stephenville that's here in Texas, correct?
Well, Stevensville, that's a different product suite from 5 Lab, but they are a Forecast 5 client. But we do have districts from all different sizes. From I think we have district from 300 students all the way up to 80,000 students. So we have a variety of clients from a variety of sizes, and we're willing to help in any way that we can.
Thank you.
Well, I will, and I believe that my information was provided, but if you do have any questions, I'm going to enter my email in the chat. You can feel free to reach out to me directly. One thing I should mention, and I failed to do it at the jump, but it was, prior to coming Forecast 5, I was in public ed for 15 years, a variety of different spots, from assistant principal to high school principal to district curriculum director. And so, we try to take a practitioner lens to everything that we do. And, we don't just try to provide visuals just to have them. We want them to inform decisions. So hopefully that practitioner element, as well as our advisors, all of our advisors have 15 years of school site-based experience. So we value that. And I think that adds another layer to our service and support for you.
Thank you, Adam. Does anybody have any final questions before we change to other things? We really appreciate you taking the time, Adam, to get on this. I went ahead in the chat and added, in addition to his email that he shared, I added their website if you want to kind of look at and see on their website as a whole. But Adam's been really responsive. He was quick to get back with me and more than happy to visit with you today in this format. So feel free to reach out to him with more specifics. Thank you.
Thanks. Pleasure meeting everybody. Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So put it up there. So when I will post this on the website, but it will also then be shared with this information on it if you were to have not written it down or lost it at some point so you could get back to it. We always want to take time when we do our CTE coffee and conversations for some time for collaboration. And so I want an opportunity, if you have questions, if you have things you want to share, something that's come up in district, something that you're wondering about, maybe something you came across in one of our recent trainings, whether it was CTENT last week or the week before in our CCMR training that we ran through Region 11. If you've got anything you want to share with the group, this is your chance. All right, I'm seeing lots of quiet. So I think 5 Lab was what a lot of people were wanting to hear about today. I know that we're getting ready to roll into our Thanksgiving week. I know that numbers are climbing in a lot of our districts. We're starting every morning, I think, catch the morning news early, and I'm hearing more schools that are having to switch to remote or making some schedule adjustments. And so I certainly am hoping that in your own world that things are going well, and that your numbers are not climbing badly. And JJ and I were talking kind of early before the meeting started, and we've seen patterns, and definitely the numbers rising right now seem to be that time frame after Halloween. And then we're going to go into Thanksgiving, and a couple of weeks later, we'll be rolling into that just before Christmas break. So I know a lot of people will be kind of problem solving and dealing with some of that. All right, go ahead and move screen. We have some upcoming events. This session in the week, the Wednesday after Thanksgiving break is over, we're going to do summary of finance training. And so if you are some of you are either new to your positions, or kind of knowing about summary finances is not necessarily the main focus of your job, but you were wanting to have a better understanding of that. It was something that had been requested by multiple people. So we're going to have that on in our coffee and conversation, so you can register for that. The first week in January, the Workforce Solutions, they've got some new tools that have released on their websites. And so they're going to come on and share some updates and information on that. And, as I have, sometimes we don't have a focus or an extra speaker, it's just collaboration time. But as I do, I update the website and add what those presentations might look like. Our next directors meeting is January 27th. And it is open for registration. For those of you that are on this, that are in my SSA, we'll have a meeting that afternoon, but that's only open for SSA members. So I'll be sending out the link to register for that. That won't be published for everybody. And then I also want to share that something we have coming soon, and we've spent a lot of time this week working on it. So I'm really excited about it. And there will be flyers coming very soon. Things are working their way through the communications department. But in the past, the last 2 years, we did an education pathway summit, and we did it face-to-face for your education pathway students, your future teachers. And we held it at UTA. It was great. We've loved that engagement. Students really seem to have enjoyed doing that. But a couple of problems with that. One was we had a lot of districts that, due to not being able to leave your district on buses until after 9, and then having to have them back for the afternoon, couldn't get your students to UTA to participate in a large percentage of it, and or couldn't make it at all. And then this year, certainly we're not really setting any large group programs face to face. So this year it is going to be virtual. So the great thing is that will be something that can be open and provided to all of your districts. And some exciting things that I can share. We've got it's going to be a private website that's going to be housed by UTA. There's going to be a large amount of stuff that's on there. So we will have that February 17th is our kickoff day, but the website will remain open for the month. And your education and training teachers, they need to register for it in order to get access to it. But then once the education training teacher has registered and has access, their students are going to be able to utilize it. UTA is doing some things like waiving the fees if any of the students who attend it are going to apply to go to school there. We have superintendents from both Region 10 and Region 11 that are sharing information with them. We're going to have trainings from all different types of content areas, from the core contents, from CTE, from special ed, elementary and high school levels. So whatever part of education your students might be looking at or considering, are they wanting to be a coach? Are they wanting to be a kindergarten teacher? Do they want to maybe do pre-K? We're going to have some people that are sharing kind of insights on what their job looks like and why they love their job. And then we have others that are going to be doing trainings that the teachers will be able to have their practicum students go through and then go on and utilize those in their classrooms where they're supporting teachers. And we will have some of those specifically be things that they would be able to do virtual, because a lot of your education and training students are virtually supporting the teachers and are doing that. So that, we'll have people that'll present different skills that they will utilize, that a teacher would utilize, that the training students could then get. So it will give a great amount of information that can be used for more than just the day of the kickoff. It'll be long-term use in the spring semester for your education and training. And I really want to encourage that you spread the word on this and encourage your teachers to choose to join this. It's completely free, won't cost them anything. And we all know that one of the great fears right now is the number of people that are choosing to leave education and the number of people that may not choose to enter it. Thank you, COVID, for an additional benefit that they have provided to all of us, is that concern. And so, we really want, if we've got students who have this as an interest, we want to be providing them not only encouragement, but skills that they can use going forward. That is all I had to share today. I give it a few more minutes to see if anybody has anything that they want to ask or share before we get off. We are in the office all this week. Our office is normally not closed the entire week of Thanksgiving, but this year it is. They're shutting our building down and going to disinfect everything. So we will be closed at the ESC for the full week next week. And I'm actually off the Monday after, and then we'll return to the office. So if you're needing me, most of you have, in addition to my email, you have my cell phone number, and it's connected, and I've got it posted everywhere. So if you need something from me, you certainly know how to get a hold of me, reach out. And as always, I'm here to support. If I'll stay on for a little bit as people are getting off, in case somebody wants to ask something of a smaller group, but if not, I want to value your time and let you get back to anything you need to take care of. Take care and enjoy this sunny, beautiful fall afternoon.
Lisa,
Yes.
on the is it tape thing, that we're doing?
Yes.
Is there a deadline that the item has to be on campus?
We had set the end of January. Now with COVID, if things are delayed and stuff, that we're certainly going to be understanding that, because I've got people, they were going to order computers and they know that there's going to be right, and that there's going to be some delay coming in. But so yes, we will definitely work with you on that. But before ordering the stuff, putting it in the documents, we can't. Our internal process is we have to, in order to reimburse you the money, we have to be able to set up the PO to do that out of, and we can't do that till we can put in and show the PO is going to be tied to something specific. So we need to know what you're ordering so that we can get the PO process started. And then once your documents are, Nancy's on this with me today, once the documents come to she and I, we will process through and get the things reimbursed.
Okay, so fill out the document and go ahead and send it all in.
But
And then we'll send in the receipts and all that.
you just have to fill out the document right now. Once you have everything, then you can send all of your documents in together. The shared doc it provides a few things. It lets us get the PO process started. It also is what lets us meet the SSA rules to show that everybody in the SSA knows what the money is being used for and approves of this. That was part of the requirements for how we can use the funds.
Yeah.
I filled that out, so I'm good.
First.
Okay, I think y'all should be able to see that.
Yes, I think I've already gone in next to your name and put approved. If
Okay,
I remember, there were a number of people that had worked on them, so.
so that is the only thing, or you want this as well right now? No, just the spreadsheet's good right now.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Nancy.
You're awesome. Thanks, Tammy.
Bye.
All right.
Happy
Hey.
Thanksgiving.
You too. Enjoy. I hope everybody gets to enjoy their Thanksgiving. Everybody's ready for a rest, I'm quite sure.